Austan, you've made the point that in the short term, you think that the Chinese tariffs are going to cost about $100 billion to the U.S. economy, to U.S. consumers. What do you think happens if these tariffs from Mexico are actually implemented next week?
I don't think that they're actually going to get implemented because I think this would be such an own goal. This would be the most self-defeating, self-inflicted wound in modern political memory because 2/3 of the imports that Mexico's sending to the U.S. are parts that go into U.S. manufactured goods. So, I mean, the biggest loser from this is not the Mexican economy, it's U.S. manufacturers. I mean, tariffs are terrible, and tariffs on intermediate goods are even worse. So I think if they were to start escalating, and we're in a simultaneous two-front trade war with two of our three biggest trading partners, I think, A, the markets will be in for a rough ride, and B, we're going to be talking about the possibility of recession within 12 months.
Art, what do you think? You think those tariffs on Mexico will get implemented?
Well, there are three reasons for tariffs, Becky. Number one, to raise revenues, but we haven't really used that much since 1910. I mean, tariffs are a tax on traded products. That's what it is. Then they're also used to protect industries, which is what China has been doing with its tariffs and its policies. And lastly, it's to change behavior. Now, we put sanctions on Libya. We put sanctions on Iran. We put sanctions on Russia, North Korea, to change their behavior. What President Trump is doing here is putting on specific tariffs on Mexico to stop them from allowing all the migrants to come into the U.S. Now, I am not a person, my pay grade isn't high enough to think as to whether that is worth it or not, but it's a very legitimate use of tariffs to get them to change their behavior on allowing immigrants to come through Mexico from Honduras and other countries coming into the U.S. So that's a natural one. Austin's completely correct on the damage done.
Though, just on that point, we'll get to the damage potentially done by it, but on that point alone, we just heard from Republican Senator Rob Portman, who said that in this situation, he thinks it may not make a lot of sense because if you talk to the experts, they say Mexico is doing more than they ever have before to try and stem the flow of those people coming through, doing things that they have never done to this point, including holding people on the other side of the border before they allow them to process and go through. I guess if you kind of get into it, I understand tariffs being done for terrorism, for Iran, for North Korea, but this is a different situation.
Well, it's way above my pay grade, and I don't know whether it's the right amount or balance.
Art? Go ahead, Art.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Art.
Yeah, it's way above my pay grade. I don't know whether it's the right thing, but the president is perfectly reasonable in using tariffs on Mexico to get them to change their behavior to slow down the immigration into the U.S. Now, I don't know whether it's a worthwhile project or not. Obviously, Senator Portman does not agree with the policy. But, you know, to me, if you look at those train loads coming in, Mexico, I think, could do a lot more to stop the illegal inflow of migrants into the U.S.
And your point that you were making, and I'm sorry, I interrupted before, and Austan, I'll get to you right after, but I interrupted you, Art, when you were making the point about what this would mean economically.
Well, I think it is a serious thing. I think Austin's completely correct on that. I mean, two things. Tariffs are a tax, and taxes are paid by the people who produce the products and the people who buy the products. And sometimes the tariff is so high that both of them just stop and there's no trade. Now, with regard to tariffs, this is not an income tax. This is a product tax. And as such, I think it'll do damage to both the U.S. and Mexico. But I think Mexico, given that their exports to the U.S. are much larger than U.S. exports to Mexico, I think it'll give them a wake-up call as to whether they want to allow those migrants to flow through. And again, I don't want to make a judgment as to whether they should or should not allow them to flow through. But it is, if you want to stop that migration, you've got to get the Mexican government's cooperation. And a tariff on those exports will just do that.